Hello, good day. Uh, Welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I'll be talking about uh, displays in HTML and CSS. So today I'll be talking about display. As the name implies, display actually means how a particular element is displayed on the screen. When we get to HTML, as far as HTML and CSS is concerned, we have two types of display. We have display inline and display block. So when we are talking about the two types of display inline just actually means that all the elements will appear on a single line. If you attach the CSS property, if you alter the CSS property of an element, you can actually change it from being an inline element or a block level element. There are some elements that inbuilt, when you declare or when you create those elements, they are naturally block, while some, when you create the new elements, they are naturally inline. And there are some elements that you can combine the two. It will take the property of inline elements and it will take the property of block level element too. So we call them inline block. So we can actually have three types of display. We have display block, display inline, and display inline block. So now let's get to actually doing the stuff. Let me create a new HTML element. Then I'm going to be saving it on my desktop here. Okay. Let me save it as display.html. So let me save it there. Then come here to this is it here. So let me open it. As we can see, it is actually what's it called? It is empty for now. Now let's get to work. Let me create an HTML template here so that we can actually start coding inside the body. Now the first thing is that all those elements that we have been creating since all this while, let's try and get them. Okay, for example, let's say h1. Okay, let me say this is h1. I'm actually doing this to give you an example of how a block level element is, so that you can actually know what I'm saying. So let me save it like this, then come here. As you can see, they are appearing on different lines. That is a key characteristic of a block level element, because a block level element will not allow another element to stay on the same line with it. So that is why they are called block level elements. We also have elements such as paragraph. Let's say this is a paragraph is also a block level element, because it will never allow another element to stay on the same line with it. So apart from that, which other block level elements do we have? We have div. Although you cannot see, okay, let me put a content there. Okay, this is a div. So let me create another div now. Come in, let me copy this and paste. This another div. So let me save it. You can see even div is not even allowing another element to stay on the same line with it. But when we are now talking about inline elements, we are talking about elements like span. span here. Span is just like when you need a very simple text. Okay, you just want to just write, let's say, like 10 words. Okay, you can just put it inside a span. So let me say this is a span. A span can allow another, you can see that this another div does not allow span to stay. So that is why they are block level element. But if you create another span beside this one, you will see what will happen now. Okay, let me copy this. Then let me write, this is another span. You can see that span is allowing another element to stay beside it. This is a tag, this is span tag, and this is another span tag. So any elements that you create that allows another element to stay beside it, you call them inline elements. But when you create an element that is not allowing another element to stay beside it, then we call them block level elements. But now what you want to create might be different from what is actually appearing on the page, because there are sometimes that you can just be like, okay, I want this design to be on the right, okay, I want this to be aligned like beside themselves, but HTML naturally doesn't allow it. But with the help of CSS, you can actually get that to work by changing a block level element to an inline element. So now let me just cite an example. As we all know that this H1, okay, let me change this to H2 so we can know what we are doing. So this H1 does not allow this is H2 to be on the same line with it. But what we can actually do is that we can alter the property of this element here. This is H1, so that it can accommodate this on the same line. Now let me put the style parameter here. We can set the display. So we can say inline. As I've said earlier, you can see we have inline block, but those are the two major ones. We have inline flex too, inline grid, but the three most important is inline, display block, and display inline block. So let's set it to display inline and see what will happen. Inline block. But now you can see that it's because this second element too does not allow another element to stay beside it. So we can change its own style too to display inline. And let's see what will happen. You can see now that it is now appearing side by side, because these elements, we have changed its property that, oh guy, you can actually, like, okay, let's try and accommodate another person, but we still also have to alter this property too. Okay, you too, you can stay beside another person. So that is the major use of the inline and the inline block changing, because there are sometimes that, okay, you want this thing to be like this, you want that thing to be like this. Example, let me just cite an example. There are sometimes that, okay, you want this H1 to be color green, or let's say color green, and you want this one to be color red. So you can see now that both of them are having different colors, but if you put them inside a single element, they cannot be splitted like this. So that is why it is good to learn to change the display property of some elements so that they can actually accommodate another element beside them. Let me try and create another thing. let me show you how to create a box in HTML so that we can actually, let me create a box for you. In HTML, to create a box, you use the div element. Then okay, I think I've taught you about class before, so that we can actually create a style tag and alter its property. So class, let's say box, let me just name it as a box. Then I'll come here, then create style tag. I'll come here and create a style tag, style, then I'll say dot box. If you are working with ID, you say hashtag box. If you are working with class, you say dot box. So now I have created a curly brace. Then I can set the width to, let's say, 200 pixel. I can say the height of our box is 200 pixel. Then the color, background color of our box is green. So let's refresh it. Now you can see that the box has been created. So the reason I'm telling you that div, we use div to create a box, and div 2 is also a block level element, as it doesn't allow us to create another element on the same line. So let me just duplicate this in 3 ways, in 3 places. You can see, sorry, let me change the color of each one of them with inline style. I can say background color, this one is red, background color red. I can come here and say this one, the last one is style background color, then I want it to be black, then save. You can see now they don't also allow another element to be on the same side as them. That is why they are block level elements too, as we have done to the rest of them. Like in the case of this H1 and this H2, if we also want to change their property to inline block level elements, then we can apply it here. We can just say in our box we want to change the display to inline. There is something that I'm trying to drive at here, that's why I'm using only inline here. You can see that they have disappeared. Because there is difference between inline and inline block. There are some elements that, there are some properties that when you are actually dealing with inline, they will not appear, just like the width, just like the height, padding and margin. They don't work with inline. Inline is just to display them in an horizontal way, but inline block will let it have the property to manipulate the width, height, padding and margin property. So that is why there is a difference between inline and inline block. Inline is just to display them in a horizontal way, but the block that is attached to it is just to be able to alter their property, the width, the height, padding and margin. For you to verify what I'm saying here, as you can see, it's not appearing, right? But they are actually there. It's just that the box are empty. For example, let me just say first box. Let me put here the second box, and let me put here third box here. You see that they are actually appearing. You can see that they are there. But the reason that they are not showing is that with only inline display, you cannot change the width and height of those elements. You can see that they are actually displaying horizontal, and This span tag, you can from what I've said earlier, span tag, they are inline elements, so they actually accommodate these 3 divs that we have created. But the inline in these 3 boxes, they don't accept what's it called, they don't accept width, height, padding and margin. So that is why there is display inline block that we actually accommodate those properties. You can see display inline block. If I change it like this, then refresh, you can see they are now bigger. So that is the difference between display inline block and display block. And while an inline element, just like these span tags that we have created here, you can actually change them to block level elements too if you don't want them to be appearing on the same line. So where are they? Okay, this is the span. So you can just set the style and set the display to block. If you set this display to block, then you refresh, you can see that these elements, you are telling him that okay, you should not accommodate any other element beside you. So that is why it is not accommodating. This is another span here. So that is how to alter the elements that you have actually created using HTML, arranging them the way you want using the display property. Thank you very much.